This is the Phuket News Hour with Tim Shaw. Join the conversation on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Phuket Live Radio.
Hello and welcome to the Phuket News Hour, brought to you by the Kids Club Phuket. Some of the stories we're looking at today: Myanmar declares a state of emergency due to the horror flooding. The Voice of America talks about Bangkok sinking. What do they mean? A man jailed for 14 years for rigging the Libor interest rate, and Hiroshima 70 years on since the atom bomb hit. All this and more, the local, national and world headlines here on the Phuket News Hour. We'll keep you up to date for the next hour with the stories that you need to know about here on Live 89.5, the Phuket News Hour, brought to you by the Kids Club Phuket. Stay tuned for all the news that counts.
The news you need to know. This is the Phuket News Hour with Tim Shaw.
Much has been said about our monsoon and the changes, particularly on the island of Phuket this year, in terms of the weather that we've had. Some said very, very good, less disruption to the surf, and that people have been able to actually enjoy the low season or the monsoon season as if it was high season. But a story from Steve Herman for Voice of America talks about Bangkok. We know the horror floods that took over Bangkok. Well, according to the Voice of America's Steve Herman, quote, Bangkok is sinking. Now, this is not in dispute, according to Steve Herman of the Voice of America. There is no firm consensus, however, on how long the metropolitan area, home to about 10 million people, can remain inhabitable. Now, the National Reform Council under Thailand's junta, which runs the country, wants the government to establish a national committee to respond to scientists' warnings that Bangkok could be permanently underwater several decades from now. Much has been said also about various national capitals around the world that have actually been relocated because of the issues surrounding weather, whether it have also been the issues surrounding water inundation. Let's go to this story on the issues of Bangkok by Steve Herman for the Voice of America.
Viditri Pwangshri has that sinking feeling. She has experienced it in the home in which she has lived all her 44 years. The cracks in uneven pavement and sagging walls throughout this canal-side neighborhood are testament to an inevitable fate.
I don't know what to do. Who will help us? I don't know.
This is the fastest sinking area of Bangkok, dropping 2 centimeters per year, twice the average rate of the rest of the capital, which sits atop a layer of soft clay.
If you take the canal boats, you can observe how this is all hollow. The buildings are sinking because they were not constructed on solid foundations.
Somsak Kongping half seriously jokes that if we come back to interview him here again in 20 years, the water level will be up to his shoulders. The main causes are a rising sea level, excessive groundwater pumping, and scores of new high-rise buildings. The lucrative construction boom continues unabated, a folly to those sounding the water alarm.
If we don't do anything, everybody will lose, because if the land yourself is sinking, your value of the land also down.
One plan calls for spending billions of dollars to shore up the frequently flooded capital with seawalls. Even with such a costly effort, nature could still eventually reclaim all that man has built on this river delta's low-lying swampland. Steve Herman, VOA News, Bangkok.
A fascinating story. And Bangkok is not the only city in the world. Let's face it, when you think about Amsterdam, the dikes of Holland, there are places where water inundation, for whatever reason, changes in the water table or over construction, or whether it be failure to actually build on solid ground. A fascinating story from Steve Herman, Voice of America. More news on the way. The Phuket News Hour, brought to you by the Kids Club Phuket.
Miss something? No problem. Listen to the Phuket News Hour any time of the day. Programs posted daily on the PhuketNews.com/radio and on our Facebook page, Phuket Live Radio.
The flooding disaster of Myanmar continues to get worse, and the BBC only hours ago has filed a story about a state emergency being declared in 4 regions of Myanmar after 1 metre of rain fell in a few days. Now, Tropical Storm Coleman prompted flooding and landslides, leaving at least 47 people dead and thousands homeless. Some areas remain completely cut off. Jonathan Head reports from Bangkok for the BBC.
Monsoon flooding is an annual event in Myanmar, but not like this. Exceptionally heavy rainfall over the past week has sent a deluge across large swathes of the country, sweeping away houses and roads, leaving thousands homeless. The floods built up as Tropical Storm Koman moved east from the Bay of Bengal. The authorities have now declared disaster zones in the 4 worst affected regions, in Sagaing, Magway, Chin State and Rakhine State. The area around the city of Calais has been especially hard hit. President Thein Sein was taken to Calais in the northwest to see for himself how serious the damage is and to offer help.
Many paddy fields were damaged. I'm here today with the flood victims to find out possible ways there are to support and replace their loss. The water levels are starting to drop slowly. The Myanmar government team will try our best to help them out through this process of resettlement and recovery.
But his is still a government with very limited capacity to respond to weather events like this. They may have to rely on the army to help fix broken roads and communications. Running any kind of relief effort will be difficult until the floodwaters have subsided. This tenacious journalist for the local DVB channel was able to give his viewers a vivid sense of how bad conditions are. With only small numbers of boats and helicopters available, many people will have to fend for themselves. And worryingly, some areas are completely cut off.
That's Jonathan Head, the Southeast Asia correspondent for the BBC, reporting on the horror that is the Myanmar flooding. And as you have heard, more than 47 people are dead and thousands are homeless. We'll keep following that story here on the Phuket News Hour. The impact regionally again may see a flood of more refugees, not just because of the issues relating to the movement of Muslims from Bangladesh and from other areas down through the Rakhine province, but simply they will not be able to feed themselves or their family. More news on the way, the Phuket News Hour.
Your daily news fix, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. Only on Live 89.5.
Do not let the rain stop you. The Kids Club Phuket, opposite Jung Salong on the second level there in the promenade, is open for business. The kids loving getting into the Kids Club Phuket, having a ball. Mum and Dad can relax in the Wi-Fi Parents Lounge, but you can also pop across the road, do some shopping, have a massage, get the nails done, girls. Let the kids have a ball at the Kids Club Phuket. Now, give Katie and the team a call, 076 341 310, or visit thekidsclubphuket.com. They're on facebook.com, the Kids Club Phuket. And you know what? They're a great party supplier as well. The Kids Club Phuket, open for business today, opposite Jung Salong. Don't forget underground parking. The kids will have a ball. Proud sponsors of the Phuket News Hour, the Kids Club Phuket.
Live 89.5, your island, your station. Live.
News from London, the BBC reporting that former city trader Tom Hayes has been found guilty at a London court of rigging the global Libor interest rate. He's been sentenced to 14 years in prison for conspiracy to defraud. The 35-year-old man is the first individual to face a jury trial for manipulating the rate, which is used as a benchmark for trillions of pounds of global borrowing and lending. Emma Simpson was at the courthouse for this report for the BBC.
Tom Hayes arriving at court today with his wife, a trader who made millions and was paid millions, but he was cheating, rigging the rates to maximise his profits.
What this verdict means is that the jury was sure he was dishonest in his manipulation. I think as well it makes an immensely important point, which is this, that bankers are subject to precisely the same standards of honesty and dishonesty as the rest of us.
So what is Libor and what did Hayes do? Libor is a key interest rate set in London. It determines what banks pay to borrow. It also matters to all of us because $450 trillion worth of contracts are based on it. Everything from credit cards to car loans to borrowing rates for businesses. Hayes was based in Tokyo from 2006, first at UBS Bank, manipulating Libor almost on a daily basis to boost his own trades. Investigators trawled through emails and electronic chats, uncovering evidence that Hayes had rigged the rates at other banks too, bribing middlemen. "If you keep fixes unchanged, I'll do a humongous deal with you," he told one of them. "I'll of course support and pay you, 50,000, 100,000. I'll do whatever you want." Hayes was arrested in London in 2012, 2 years after being sacked from his next bank, Citigroup. He then confessed in hours of interviews with the SFO.
"I probably deserve it sitting here. And I made concerted efforts to influence Libor. And although I was operating within a system which was commonplace, I was someone who was a serial offender within that."
That was the voice of an actor. Tom Hayes has been sentenced to 14 years in prison for conspiracy to defraud, for the manipulation and the rigging of the global Libor interest rate. Emma Simpson with that report from the BBC.
Today's important stories and the island's best music. This is the Phuket News Hour with Tim Shaw.
War is something that is inevitable, and unfortunately too many men make wars. But one of the few remaining trams which survived the Hiroshima bomb has been restored to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the attack, and it's been repainted in its original colours, blue and grey, and has video testimony from survivors on board. This story by Rupert Wingfield Hayes from the BBC.
This has to be the most famous building in Hiroshima and one of the most famous in Japan. But many people outside Japan think the A-bomb dome is the only thing that survived in the middle of Hiroshima after the atomic explosion. That simply is not true. So this actual tram car survived the atomic blast, was restored after the war, put back into operation, and in fact, this car was running on the streets of Hiroshima in regular service until just a few years ago. It's now used for tourist rides. But the tram system itself is another remarkable story, because they got the trams up and running on part of the system just 3 days after the atomic bomb exploded here. So the trams are a symbol of rejuvenation and survival for the people who live here. Quite a lot of other large buildings in the middle of Hiroshima actually survived, especially if they were made of reinforced concrete. And one of them was the Bank of Hiroshima. It's just down the street over here. So actually, this is the Bank of Japan building, and it's only around 400 meters from the hypercenter of the explosion. This building survived, despite temperatures which would have risen to 3,000 degrees. Everything and everybody around here was incinerated. But amazingly, inside this building, because of its thick walls, some people survived. After the bombing, a lot of people here thought that Hiroshima would be an atomic wasteland, that nothing would grow here for 50 or maybe 70 years. But that too was wrong. These are the grounds of Hiroshima Castle, and all of the buildings here were completely wiped out in the explosion. But look at the trees. When you come here, you can't help thinking, well, some of these trees must be older than 70 years. And indeed they are. This one is a survivor. Not only has it survived, it seems to have thrived, and there are many trees in Hiroshima like this, and they are an incredible testament to the resilience of nature.
That story from the BBC's Rupert Wingfield Hayes, taking us on a trip on an iconic tram through Hiroshima. I'll post that on facebook.com, the Phuket News, for the Phuket News Hour. Have a look at the video and have a look at this remarkable tram that's been restored. More news on the way. This is the Phuket News Hour.
Your daily news fix, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. Only on Live 89.5.
That is the Phuket News Hour for today. Thank you for your company. This program produced and presented by Tim Shaw, using the resources of Voice of America, the Bangkok Post, the BBC, CNN, the Phuket News Centre and the World Wide Web. Don't forget, you can catch the Highlights podcast by going to PhuketLiveRadio.com. You can also listen to me on YouTube now and Facebook.com, the Phuket News. Have your say. Any stories locally, nationally and around the world. We'd love your feedback. Until we speak again, it's great to have joined you, bringing you the news locally, nationally and from around the world that keeps you up to date here on the Phuket News Hour. Have a great day. Look forward to your company again here on Live 89.5, the Phuket News Hour, brought to you by the Kids Club Phuket.
This is the Phuket News Hour with Tim Shaw. Join the conversation on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Phuket Live Radio.